Hey everyone, welcome back to Off House Brewing. Today I'm going to do a Milkshake IPA. Love it, hate it. I know a lot of people I think have a pretty strong opinion on this topic. Personally I do like them. I understand why people don't, or some purists don't. But I can tell you this, if you're out going to a brewery and you're spending, I don't know, $20 a 4-pack of cans, because that's the only way that you can get it and you haven't tried it at home or you don't know what to do, stop doing that. Yeah, support your local brewery and all that, that's nice, but I'm going to show you that it's pretty easy to do. Basically, you just start out with like an East Coast IPA recipe, add lactose, milkshake. I take that back. You probably should use a little bit of vanilla in there, but I'll kind of walk you through some of this stuff. I'll share the recipe down below. There's going to be some water chemistry that is kind of important in my opinion to kind of really nailing this style, so I'll try to walk through some of that stuff. I know that that's some people don't do that yet, but I think depending on what your water is and what the water that you probably should have, or at least that it's recommended to have, really isn't that difficult. It just kind of sounds intimidating. It's like one of these other topics that it's a struggle until you try it. But I can kind of walk you through some of this stuff and give you a couple of links for some tips. Chances are you can get a water report from your local municipality. That's one of the first things that you should do. After that, it's just a few minor adjustments, and I can kind of talk you through some of the steps. I probably won't get into like a granular level, but I can just kind of give you maybe some recommendations for what I found produces a really good recipe. So I hope you enjoy this. I'm not going to walk through most of the mash because that really doesn't, for the most part, doesn't matter outside of maybe the little bit of water chemistry. Same thing with the boil. It's the same as any other boil, outside of a lactose addition in the boil. And then for the most part, it's just a regular brew day. So I hope that this hasn't deterred you away because no, I don't like that stuff. No, that's okay. But follow along. I think it's one of those things that it's just another thing that in your brewing knowledge. So hope you enjoy. This will probably be a shorter video, which for some of you that is probably a good thing. If you do like it, please, I encourage you, please share this with some of your friends. I really want to do a YouTube live, and I realized off of my phone that you need to have 1,000 subscribers. I'm a far shot away from that. I'm not doing this to try to get all famous or some sort of Instagram or whatever influencer, because that shit is stupid. But I think it's just kind of fun to share this stuff. So do that, please. Share it, like it, subscribe, blah, blah, and hope you have a good time. So we'll see you in a little bit. All right, so mash is complete. Like I said, there's not a whole lot different between that mash and any other mash. Really, the difference is going to come now. So I have, for 5 gallons, 12 ounces of lactose. That's going to go in, for the last 10 minutes of the boil. So I have an East Coast IPA recipe, and all I'm doing is adding lactose, which is really kind of going to get that sweetness. Now, and like I said, I'll post the recipe down below as a baseline for what I do, but I'm also going to add in, I think, about 1.5 teaspoons of Penzey's double vanilla extract. You can use beans, you can use a different extract. I like that. It's just a really good, high quality extract that's going to give a little bit of that vanilla character. That's really going to give some of that milkshake that you're looking for, on top of the lactose. Besides that, East Coast recipe. I have a 1/4 ounce of Nugget, I think it was, at 60 minutes. Besides that, I'm not going to add any hops until knockout. I'm going to dry hop, and it's an East Coast recipe. Simple as that. For this one, I'm going to use fruit. Moreover, I'm going to use some puree. But that's about all there is to a milkshake. I'll probably give you a little more, when it comes to some of the puree. We'll kind of look into that and maybe get some tasting notes. But that's it. It is really that simple. No reason to complicate anything. I'd say if you want to use a lot of fruit or a lot of puree, especially puree, make your recipe for like 4 gallons or 4.5 gallons, knowing you're going to add a lot of volume of puree to it. The only thing to keep in mind is when you're calculating ABV. Unlike, well, tongue-in-cheek, a certain brewery from, I think it's Indiana, your ABV calculation is not going to be the same. A 6.5% Milkshake IPA, when you add a gallon of Puree, is not going to be a 6.5% beer if you're trying to make it more of like a some sort of squishy kind of thing, or when you're adding that much in, it's going to be a fruit bomb or a Slurpee kind of thing. Keep in mind, you have to balance that out. Yeah, you're not selling this professionally, so it probably doesn't matter as much. But you know, if you just want to be accurate, it's an easy enough calculation. The one thing that I did do in the mash is I tried for 150 ppm of chloride to about 75 ppm of sulfate. So I use Beersmith and I use Bruin water to try to calculate that stuff. Again, I'll put the links down below. And actually kind of working through some of that water chemistry is probably another episode that I do want to get into, because I think that that is important for this style. But the biggest thing is, you know, probably around a 2-to-1 ratio of chloride to sulfate. If you're doing a West Coast, you probably flip those. Also, I did get a water report from Ward Labs. I'll post that link down below too. I think that's a good starting point, particularly if you use well water. Most municipal water sources, at least by us in the Midwest and in Wisconsin, around Lake Michigan, are fairly devoid of minerals. But it's kind of that, probably, I don't know, next level of brewing when you start really getting into water chemistry. So we'll touch on that at some point in the future. You know, if you want to brew this kind of style, or even like a slushy style beer where you're adding a whole crap ton of puree, a lot of the basis is the same, and a ton of puree or a ton of fruit. So we'll touch base again, you know, as we get into the dry hopping part, because whether you're doing a milkshake beer or just a regular NEPA, you know, the dry hopping is kind of the key. So if you're not familiar with doing that and this is still new to you, we'll touch on that too, because I think that's important. So I hope you have enjoyed so far. It's a day before my birthday, so we're cracking a Central Waters Black Gold, and it is in, I don't know if you can see it, it is in proper glassware. So cheers, friends. I hope you enjoy these videos, and catch you when we get to the dry hopping. Cheers. Alright, so I made a small mistake. I timed my beer at a bad time with Memorial Day weekend. So when I normally would have done the first dry hop edition, I was gone, and now I'm just going to have to combine them both into two. So normally my dry hop regimen for this kind of thing consists of the first add being for what ends up being for 8 days, and the second add for 4 days. And usually the first add is somewhere, I don't know, a day or two past kind of peak Kreuzen type of category. Now, I've done a little bit of research and have done enough reading on the internet of seeing various experiments talking about biotransformation, and some of it, I think the science, at least on the outset of the beginning of it, wasn't very good, and that it may not necessarily be 100% accurate. Having said that, you know, I think there's just a few more things at work there. So what I have now is I have my entire dry hop charge, which is going to consist of 4 ounces of Citra, 2 Mandarina Bavaria, and 1 ounce of Galaxy. I'm going to throw it in one of these guys that go in my big mouth. I'm going to sanitize it, of course, and have it kind of pushed on with this plunger. Now, when it's in there, I mean, the thing is they float, and there's not a lot of room to move them, for that to move around. So I will very slowly push that plunger down and push the hops down. Do your best not to splash this, because you know, you don't want to have the risk of oxidation. And I've had a few friends who have had basically gray IPA, or, you know, East Coast IPA beers seemingly because of oxidation. I've never had it myself, but I'm very careful not to splash, so that's good advice. So I'm going to go dump all that stuff in. I did take a gravity reading. It's at 1023, which is probably a little bit high. However, when I've done these in the past, I know that the gravity ends up being higher than it normally would because of, and I'm sure that it's because of the lactose. I do not have 100% scientific evidence to back that up. However, I know when I make basically the same exact kind of recipe without the lactose, it's going to finish somewhere around 10, 10, 10, 12, something like that. So do I have a definitive answer on what the ABV is going to be? No, I don't. Because I can't do the calculation. But I just know that at this point it's basically done, although I do see a few bubbles still coming up. So as I'm going to have another 4 to 5 days that the dry hops are going to be on the beer. Instead, I'm combining 2 shots into one, which honestly I don't know that it makes a whole lot of difference. I think it's still going to be okay. So I'm really not worried about it, and I'm going to be adding some fruit and stuff like that too. So next step is going to be a dry hop step. You can have varying amounts for this kind of beer, but this is about what I have for mine. So it's something that you can play around with. When I get to the fruit ad, of course we'll kind of look at what that fruit ad looks like, and it's probably going to surprise some people on what I do, and I'm telling you that you can't taste the difference. This is just me, and I'm looking for volume. So we'll get to that in a few days. That'll sit for a few days after that, and then we'll get on a keg. So this has been in the keg for, I don't know, 3 weeks now, maybe 4 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's awesome. Like I said before, is trying to do this, making a milkshake beer is not that difficult. Now during the COVID-19 days, I guess it's probably more important than ever to support your local breweries. It's not like I want to say don't buy anything from them, but just do want to show that this is as easy to do at home. Nice, good, creamy head. It's got a good mouthfeel to it. Like I said, I use the Amoretti fruit purees, and I'll leave a link below to kind of show you what I use. I use it at a rate of 2 ounces per gallon, so I used 10 of the mango and 10 of the passion fruit. There is a real light acidity, from the passion fruit, which is nice, but the mango, it's just bursting with that flavor. It's now officially, I think, the second day of summer. It's a beautiful day to sit outside and have one of these ice cold summer beers. So I encourage you to do this stuff at home. I'll put the recipe below. I have some other comments on water chemistry and stuff that I did to kind of make it what it is, but I'm confident in saying that this is something you can do at home. I will put this up against just about any other professional or commercial beer of this style, and it is easy to do at home. So enjoy. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Cheers.